Emma Chen had spent 7 years climbing the competitive ladder of entertainment journalism in Los Angeles. At 32, she had finally secured a coveted position as co-host of Hollywood Tonight, a primetime entertainment news show known for its edgy coverage and occasional controversies. The producers had made it clear during her hiring, ratings were everything, and sometimes that meant pushing boundaries. "We need something special for tomorrow's show," said Marcus, the executive producer, during their morning meeting. "Adam Sandler's agreed to come on to promote his new film. It's more dramatic than his usual stuff. He's actually getting Oscar buzz." Emma nodded, jotting notes in her planner. "Standard interview format?" Marcus leaned forward, lowering his voice despite being in a private office. "We want you to shake things up a bit, get under his skin. You know his comedy films haven't performed well lately. We've prepared some clips of his worst-reviewed movies. Hit him with those. Ask if he's finally given up on comedy, because he's not funny anymore." Emma's pen stopped mid-stroke. "That seems unnecessarily harsh. It's good TV," Marcus shrugged. "Celebrities expect this game. Besides, Sandler's known for being unflappable. He'll probably turn it into a joke." On her drive home that evening, Emma wrestled with the directive. She had admired Sandler since childhood, appreciating both his silly comedies and his occasional dramatic turns. Her career, however, was finally gaining momentum after years of struggle. In this industry, refusing producer directives was career suicide. At her apartment, Emma researched meticulously, preparing questions that would fulfill the producer's wishes, while hopefully allowing her to sleep at night. She selected clips from Jack and Jill and Grown Ups 2, films that had been commercial successes despite critical drubbings. "Keep it professional, make it seem like legitimate criticism," she told herself, practicing in the mirror. "It's just business." The morning of the interview, the studio buzzed with anticipation. Emma's co-host, Trevor, seemed unusually excited. "Heard about the ambush plan?" he whispered during makeup. "Brilliant stuff. You'll be trending by lunchtime." Emma's stomach knotted as she took her position on set. The red light on camera 1 blinked on, and she forced her professional smile. "Good. Evening, America. Tonight, we have a special guest, the man who's made us laugh for decades and is now making Oscar waves with his new drama, Shadows of Yesterday. Please welcome Adam Sandler." The actor walked onto the set amid applause, dressed in his characteristic casual style, basketball shorts, an untucked button-down, and comfortable sneakers. He smiled genuinely, waving to the audience before settling into the interview chair across from Emma. Little did either of them know that the next 15 minutes would change both their lives irrevocably. "Adam, it's great to have you here," Emma began, her rehearsed smile firmly in place. "Your new film is getting serious award buzz. Is this a deliberate pivot away from comedy because your last few funny films bombed so spectacularly?" The studio audience's collective intake of breath was audible. Adam's expression flickered momentarily, surprise crossing his features before settling back into his familiar, easy smile. "Well, I wouldn't say bombed," he replied good-naturedly. "People still seem to enjoy them." Emma felt the producer's eyes on her from the control room. Committed now. She pressed the button on her tablet, and behind them, the studio screen filled with a montage of scathing reviews of Sandler's recent comedies, with particular emphasis on lines like "embarrassingly unfunny" and "career low point." "Let's look at some critical responses," Emma continued, her voice professional but pointed. "Does it hurt to see your work dismissed this way? Is this dramatic role an attempt to finally earn some respect in Hollywood?" The audience was uncomfortably silent. Camera 2 captured Adam's face as he watched the montage, his expression unreadable. Emma's co-host Trevor jumped in, twisting the knife. "I mean, Some critics wondered if you'd lost your touch completely. This one called you a relic of 90s humor that should have stayed in that decade. He chuckled as if they were all sharing a joke. The control room was ecstatic. Emma could hear the executive producer in her earpiece. "This is gold. Keep pushing." Adam shifted in his seat, taking a deep breath. The studio braced for an angry outburst or a hasty exit. Either would make excellent viral content. Instead, he nodded thoughtfully. "You know," he began, his voice calm and measured, "I've been doing this for over 30 years now. Made a lot of movies, some great, some just okay. I get why critics don't always love my stuff." He leaned forward slightly, making direct eye contact with Emma. There was no anger in his expression, just a profound sincerity that made her chest tighten with shame. "But here's the thing. I make movies that make people happy. I get letters from folks going through chemo who say my silly films were the only thing that made them laugh that week. Kids who had a rough time at school who felt better watching my characters act goofy." The audience was utterly silent now, hanging on every word. Emma felt her carefully constructed professional facade beginning to crack under the weight of his genuine response. "Success isn't just about critics or awards or box office," Adam continued. "It's about connection, making someone's day a little better. If I can do that, I'm good with whatever review gets written." The teleprompter was scrolling with additional barbed questions, but Emma couldn't bring herself to read them. In the control room, producers were frantically signaling for her to continue the ambush. But something had shifted in the studio, something palpable. The trap had been set, the bait taken. But somehow, Adam Sandler had changed the game entirely. As Adam's words hung in the air, a remarkable thing happened. From the back of the studio audience, someone began to clap. The solitary applause was quickly joined by others until the entire studio erupted in a standing ovation. Emma sat frozen in her host chair, acutely aware of the contrast between the audience's reaction and what the producers had anticipated. In her earpiece, Marcus was frantic. "Get control of the interview. Cut to commercial if you have to." But Adam wasn't finished. Once the applause died down, he turned back to Emma with a gentle expression that held no malice. "You know, I get it. Shows need ratings. Producers want moments that go viral. I've been in this business a long time." He gestured to the still frozen montage of negative reviews. "But can I ask you something, Emma? Do you actually believe what you're saying about my work, or are you just reading what's on the prompter?" The studio fell silent again. It was a direct challenge to her authenticity, not angry or accusatory, but genuine curiosity that demanded an honest answer. In her 7 years of entertainment journalism, Emma had never been put on the spot like this. "We'll be right back after these messages," Trevor interjected smoothly, trying to salvage the situation. But before the director could cut to commercial, Emma made a decision that would define her career. "No, wait." She removed her earpiece, placing it on the small table beside her chair. "Adam deserves an honest answer." In the control room, Marcus was shouting, but his voice was now mercifully muted. Emma took a deep breath. "The truth is, I grew up watching your movies. Happy Gilmore was the first film my dad and I bonded over. After my parents' divorce." Her voice wavered slightly. "I don't believe what I just said about your work. I was told to create a viral moment at your expense, and I chose my career over my integrity. I'm sorry." The confession hung in the air. In any other circumstance, this admission would be career suicide. A broadcaster admitting to a deliberate hit job, live on air. Trevor stared at her in disbelief. The audience was completely still. Adam's response was unexpected. He laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth. "Now that's the most honest thing I've heard in an interview in about 20 years. He stood up, walked around the interview desk, and extended his hand to Emma. "How about we start over? Ask me what you really want to know about the new film or anything else." The audience erupted in applause again. Camera operators exchanged confused glances, unsure where to focus as the carefully planned segment disintegrated. In the control room, Marcus had gone from furious to calculating, recognizing that something unexpected but potentially valuable was unfolding. For the next 10 minutes, Emma conducted the most genuine interview of her career. They discussed Adam's transition between comedy and drama, his family life, and the challenges of aging in Hollywood. When Adam described losing his parents and how that influenced his recent choice of roles, there wasn't a dry eye in the studio. As they cut to commercial, for real this time, Adam leaned over and whispered, "That took guts what you did. Whatever happens next, remember that integrity matters more than any job." Emma nodded, aware that she had just experienced a pivotal moment in her life. What she didn't yet realize was how this unplanned authenticity would resonate far beyond the studio walls. By midnight, the interview had gone viral, but not for the reasons the producers had intended. Clips of Adam's dignified response and Emma's unexpected confession spread across social media platforms with hashtags like Integrity Matters and Action Sandler Class. Media outlets that typically thrived on celebrity takedowns found themselves discussing journalistic ethics instead. Emma's phone hadn't stopped buzzing since she'd left the studio. There were texts from friends, calls from other networks, and an email from Marcus that she couldn't bring herself to open. After turning off notifications, she sat on her apartment balcony, watching the Los Angeles lights and contemplating her likely unemployment. The knock on her door came at 7 a.m. Emma, who had barely slept, opened it to find Trevor, looking equally exhausted. "You've been fired," he said without preamble. "Marcus wanted me to tell you that your building access has been revoked and your personal items will be mailed." Emma nodded, having expected nothing less. "And you? Are you here to gloat or commiserate?" Trevor shifted uncomfortably. "Neither. I'm here because I couldn't sleep last night thinking about what you did. In 15 years in this business, I've done 100 interviews like what we planned for Sandler. Never once questioned it." He hesitated. "I'm wondering how you found the courage." "It wasn't courage," Emma admitted, inviting him in and pouring coffee. "It was shame. In that moment, I couldn't bear who I was becoming." As they talked, Emma's phone rang with an unknown number. Normally, she would have ignored it, but something prompted her to answer. "Is this Emma Chen?" asked a woman's voice. "Yes. Who's calling?" "This is Patricia Lauder, VP of Content at Vision Media. I saw your interview with Adam Sandler. I'd like to meet with you today if possible." Vision Media was a respected production company known for documentary work and in-depth celebrity profiles, the antithesis of Hollywood Tonight's ambush journalism. Emma agreed to a lunch meeting, bewildered by this unexpected turn. Meanwhile, across town, Adam Sandler was having breakfast with his longtime friend and fellow comedian David Spade. "You should have just walked off that set," Spade was saying. "That's what any normal person would do when blindsided like that." Adam shrugged, spreading cream cheese on his bagel. What would that have accomplished? Just another celebrity storms off set headline. He paused. "Besides, that producer was setting up that young woman to take the fall. You could see it in her eyes. She knew it was wrong." "Always seeing the best in people." Spade rolled his eyes. "So what now? Your publicist says every show wants you after that interview. You're the patron saint of classiness." Adam laughed, but his expression quickly turned thoughtful. "Actually, I've been thinking about something. That interview got more people talking about real stuff, integrity, kindness, purpose, than any press I've done in years." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. "I think I want to do something with that. Something that matters." As Los Angeles awakened to a new day, both Emma and Adam were contemplating new paths, separate journeys sparked by 15 unscripted minutes of honesty on live television. 3 months later, Emma stood nervously backstage at the Edison Theater in downtown Los Angeles. The venue was filled to capacity with an unusual mix of Hollywood executives, journalists, film students, and members of the public who had won tickets through a social media lottery. 5 minutes, Miss Chen, a production assistant informed her. Emma nodded, smoothing down her simple black blazer. Her life had transformed radically since that fateful interview. Patricia Lauder's lunch meeting had led to an unexpected opportunity, hosting and co-producing a new interview series called Unfiltered for Vision Media, focused on authentic conversations with entertainment figures about creativity, failure, and resilience. The concept had quickly gained attention, with streaming platforms engaging in a bidding war for distribution rights. The twist that caught everyone's attention was Emma's unconventional choice of executive producer, Adam Sandler himself, whose production company had partnered with Vision Media for the project. Their first episode was premiering tonight, beginning with a public conversation between Emma and Adam about the interview that had connected them. As the house lights dimmed, Emma took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The applause was warm as she took her seat opposite Adam, who was dressed a bit more formally than usual, though he still wore sneakers with his suit. "Thank you all for coming," Emma began once the audience quieted. "3 months ago, I made the worst professional decision of my career, followed immediately by the best personal decision of my life." Gentle laughter rippled through the crowd. "Adam, I have to ask, when I ambushed you on live television, what was actually going through your mind? You seemed so calm, but you must have been furious." Adam leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "Honestly, I was disappointed, not just in the questions, but in the whole setup. I've been doing this long enough to recognize when someone's being used as the network's fall person." He smiled. "But then you did something remarkable. You chose to be human on live TV. That doesn't happen often in our industry." The conversation flowed naturally as they discussed the aftermath. Emma's firing, the viral response, and their unlikely collaboration. When they opened the floor to questions, a young journalism student stood up. "Miss Chen, weren't you afraid of never working in entertainment again after what you did?" Emma nodded, terrified. "But there's something powerful about hitting rock bottom professionally. You discover what actually matters to you." She glanced at Adam. "I learned that success without integrity isn't success at all." As the evening concluded, Adam revealed the surprise he'd been planning for weeks. Our first episode of Unfiltered features interviews with 3 entertainment journalists who left the industry after being pressured to create deliberately hurtful content. Their stories are important, but even more significant is what they're doing now. The lights dimmed as the screen behind them illuminated with the opening sequence of their show. Emma watched, tears welling in her eyes, as the project she'd poured herself into for months unfolded before an enraptured audience. Later, at the reception, Marcus, her former producer, approached, champagne glass in hand. "Quite the comeback," he acknowledged grudgingly. "Never thought Sandler would turn out to be your career savior?" Emma shook her head. "Adam didn't save my career. He reminded me why I wanted to be a journalist in the first place, to tell stories that matter." She looked across the room, where Adam was chatting with a group of film students. "Sometimes, the worst moment of your life becomes the best thing that ever happened to you." As the evening wound down, Emma found herself standing beside Adam on the theater's rooftop terrace, overlooking the Los Angeles skyline. "We did good," he said simply. "We did," she agreed. "Thank you for seeing something in me worth believing in, even when I was at my worst." Adam laughed. "That's the thing about rock bottom. You can only go up from there." He raised his glass, in a toast, to second chances. Emma clinked her glass against his, reflecting on how a 15-minute interview had changed everything. "To second chances," she echoed, "and to responses that leave everyone speechless."